Welcome to Wife Cheating Story. I hope you have an enjoyable and relaxing time listening. Let's get started.
Alex came home early, expecting to surprise his wife. Instead, he found her in the yoga studio, tangled in another man's arms, her laughter soft and intimate. Adrian whispered, "Hes too busy to notice." Elena didn't deny it. Alex's heart broke in silence, but his eyes stayed cold. They wouldn't see him coming. The Tesla's quiet hum faded as Alex Carter powered it down, the car settling into the driveway like a whisper. His eyes lingered on the house before him, a beacon of modern elegance with its clean lines and shimmering glass panels, softened by the amber glow spilling from within. He'd built this home with Elena, poured his love into every detail, much like he had their life together. Today's homecoming was meant to be a surprise. 2 days earlier than planned, armed with Elena's favorite Italian takeout, Alex envisioned her smile lighting up the moment she saw him. But something was amiss, even before he crossed the threshold. The silence. Elena wasn't one for quiet. She surrounded herself with sound, music, the rhythmic buzz of her painting tools, even the cheerful hums she absent-mindedly sang while cooking. Yet now, the house held its breath. A faint murmur floated from the back of the house, low voices, soft laughter. Alex set the bag of takeout on the kitchen counter and followed the sound, his leather-soled shoes muffled against the polished hardwood. As he approached the yoga studio, a room Elena had once excitedly declared her sanctuary, the laughter grew clearer, intimate. The door, slightly ajar, framed the scene inside like a cruel painting. Elena sat on Adrian's lap, her laughter cascading like the chime of silver bells. Her arms looped around his neck as if the world beyond them didn't exist. Adrian leaned into her, his hands on her waist, fingers splayed possessively over her curves. Alex's breath caught in his chest, freezing him in place. The mirrored walls of the studio reflected every damning angle, making it impossible to look away. "I told you," Adrian said, his voice a velvet murmur. "You're my favorite student." Elena giggled, tilting her head back, exposing the slender column of her throat. "Flatterer," she teased. "You only say that because I let you cheat during poses." Adrian laughed, the sound low and self-assured. "Not just that." He trailed his fingers along her arm, his eyes lingering on her. "You've got this, Grace, this fire, and let's face it, your husband doesn't appreciate it." The words hit Alex like a physical blow. Elena didn't refute him. Instead, she sighed a sound of reluctant agreement as she leaned closer. "Alex doesn't see me anymore. Not really. All he sees is his next deal, his next big achievement. Sometimes it feels like I'm just here. You're more than that." Adrian's voice dipped lower, his lips brushing against her ear. "You deserve someone who makes you feel alive." Elena's laughter softened into a hum of agreement. She pulled back just enough to meet his eyes, her fingers tracing the edge of his jaw. "Think he suspects anything?" Adrian smirked, confident and unbothered. "Alex? Come on. He's too busy being a CEO to notice what's right in front of him." Elena smiled, bittersweet. "Maybe that's why this feels so easy." Her fingers tightened slightly around his neck, a possessive gesture. "But it's not just about him being busy." "Oh?" Adrian prompted, raising a brow. She hesitated, then spoke softly, as if confessing. "It's about how I feel when I'm with you. You remind me of what it's like to be, wanted, to matter." Adrian's hand slid to her face, cupping her cheek. "You'll always matter to me," he whispered before leaning in to kiss her. The kiss was slow, deliberate, the kind of kiss that spoke of practiced familiarity. It was a kiss that shattered any lingering doubt Alex might have had. He stepped back, his movements mechanical. The scene inside the yoga studio burned into his mind, a cruel tableau of intimacy that mocked everything he had believed about their marriage. His heart pounded, but his face remained a mask of calm. Years of boardroom battles had taught him to suppress emotion, to maintain control. Alex retreated down the hall, out of the house, and into the cool night air. Sitting in the driver's seat of his car, he let his head fall back against the rest. His chest heaved once, a single, sharp breath escaping his lips. Too busy to notice, doesn't appreciate her, reminds her she matters. Each word carved itself into his mind, fueling the cold fire of his resolve. He gripped the steering wheel tightly, his knuckles stark white against the dark leather. The betrayal stung, but this wasn't the time to act on emotion. Not yet. They wouldn't see him coming. The city lights blurred as Alex drove aimlessly, his thoughts scattered like broken glass. He replayed their exchange, each word carving deeper into his composure. Pulling into an empty parking lot, Alex finally stopped. He stared out at the darkened sky, the betrayal wrapping around his chest like a vice. Was this my fault? Had I been too distant? Had I failed her? Bullshit, he muttered aloud, his voice startling in the silence of the car. He gripped the steering wheel tightly, forcing himself to focus. His phone vibrated a notification from the home camera system. He opened the app instinctively. The feed showed Elena's yoga studio now empty, the lights dimmed. For a moment he wondered if he had imagined it all, but then he heard her voice again in his mind, soft and cruel. Too busy to notice. Alex took a deep breath, letting the betrayal simmer into something colder. He couldn't afford to let his emotions rule him, not now. There was more at stake than just his marriage. Adrian wasn't just some lover, he was a threat. Later that night, Alex sat in his study, the dim glow of his laptop casting shadows across the room. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, pulling up the home network logs, a ritual he performed almost unconsciously as CEO of a leading tech firm. A flagged alert caught his eye. Someone had attempted to access his company's servers from a device connected to their home network. The timestamps were precise. The attempts aligned perfectly with Adrian's most recent visits. Alex's breath stilled. It wasn't just about the affair anymore. Elena, he murmured under his breath, leaning back in his chair. What the hell have you done? He clicked through the logs, tracing the IP addresses back to Elena's laptop. The pattern was unmistakable. It wasn't random curiosity. Someone was actively probing his company's most secure files. His phone buzzed on the desk, a message from Elena. I hope your trip's going well. Don't overwork yourself. Alex stared at the screen, his lips curling into a grim smile. Don't overwork myself? It was almost laughable. He typed a response, deliberate and calm. Everything's fine. I'll be home soon. The trap was already forming in his mind. He would uncover everything, the full extent of Adrian's involvement, the scope of Elena's betrayal. And when the time was right, they would learn that Alex Carter was not a man to underestimate. The morning sunlight filtered through Alex's study as he sat motionless, staring at his laptop. He had spent the entire night dissecting the implications of what he had found, the flagged attempts, the correlation with Adrian's visits, and Elena's unwitting involvement. His mind churned relentlessly, searching for the thread that would unravel this betrayal. Alex tapped his phone, dialing the number of an old contact. Doyle Investigations, a gruff voice answered. Carter Doyle, it's Alex Carter, Alex said, his tone clipped. Alex, Doyle replied, his voice warming slightly. It's been a while. What can I do for you? I need your expertise, Alex said. This is personal and professional. Discretion is paramount. There was a pause, followed by a soft chuckle. Sounds like my kind of job. Send me the details. Within hours, Doyle's team had begun their investigation. Alex met with him in a nondescript office downtown, far from the prying eyes of the media. Adrian Beck, Doyle began, flipping through a file. Or at least that's what he's been calling himself. Real name's Daniel Ford. Alex's eyes narrowed. Daniel Ford? Doyle nodded. He was your partner at TriTech years ago, wasn't he? The one who tried to sue you after you took the company public. Memories of heated boardroom battles flooded Alex's mind. Daniel's ambition had been toxic, his schemes as unethical as they were ambitious. When the board ousted him, Alex had thought he'd seen the last of Daniel Ford. Why come after me now? Alex muttered, more to himself than to Doyle. Revenge, plain and simple, Doyle said. He's reinvented himself as Adrian Beck, a yoga instructor. Perfect cover, really. Gains trust, slips under the radar. Alex's fists clenched. And Elena? She was just collateral damage? Hardly, Doyle said, pushing a photograph across the table. It showed Adrian Daniel with Elena at a gallery opening, his hand on the small of her back. From what we've pieced together, Daniel targeted her deliberately. He knew her insecurities, her dissatisfaction. He's been playing her like a violin. Alex's jaw tightened, but he forced himself to remain composed. Does she know who he really is? Doubtful, Doyle replied. She probably thinks he's just a charming yoga instructor who understands her better than her busy husband does. Alex exhaled slowly. I want to know everything, Carter. Every move he's made, every connection he has, and I want it fast. Doyle nodded, his expression grim. Consider it done. Doyle's investigation deepened over the next several days, revealing the breadth of Daniel's machinations. Surveillance footage showed him escorting Elena to private dinners, his demeanor always polished, his charm effortless. Audio recordings captured snippets of their conversations, the intimacy of their words twisting the knife in Alex's gut. One evening, Doyle played a particularly damning recording for Alex. You're amazing, you know that. Elena's voice was soft, vulnerable. You make it easy, Daniel replied smoothly. Alex doesn't see what he has, Elena. He's blinded by his ambition. There was a pause. Then Elena's hesitant voice. Sometimes I wonder if I've been a fool, staying with him. You deserve better, Daniel said, his tone heavy with calculated empathy, and I can help you get it. The recording ended, leaving a tense silence in its wake. Alex stared at the monitor, his face unreadable. He's grooming her, Doyle said, breaking the silence, making her feel like she's in control while steering her toward what he wants. Alex's voice was icy when he finally spoke. And what does he want? Leverage, Doyle replied. Over you, your company, your life. The next day, Doyle handed Alex a detailed report on Daniel's activities. It included financial transactions, encrypted communications, and a timeline of his interactions with Elena. What's his endgame? Alex asked as he reviewed the files. Sabotage, Doyle said. He's not just after you personally, he's after your company. He's stolen proprietary data through Elena's laptop. If he leaks it, the damage will be catastrophic. Alex closed the file, his expression hardening. Then we make him think he's winning. Armed with Doyle's findings, Alex began to counter Daniel's schemes with his own. He installed advanced surveillance software on Elena's laptop, giving him real-time access to her communications. Every email, every message between her and Daniel was meticulously cataloged. Late one night, Alex sat in his study, reviewing the stolen data Daniel had accessed. Among the files was a project blueprint for a groundbreaking AI partnership, a deal that, if exposed, could cost Alex's company millions. His phone buzzed. It was Doyle. We've traced the stolen data, Doyle said. Daniel's been encrypting and transmitting it to a private server. He's getting ready to sell. To who? Alex asked, his voice sharp. A rival firm, Doyle replied. We're still working on confirming which one. Alex's mind raced. He couldn't afford to wait for confirmation. We need to act now. Prepare the legal groundwork. If he makes a move, I want him buried in litigation before he can blink. Understood, Doyle said. And Alex, be careful. Daniel's desperate. Desperate people are dangerous. Alex hung up, his focus shifting to the encrypted files on his screen. He leaned back, his eyes narrowing. Daniel might have stolen from him, but Alex had something Daniel didn't, the element of surprise. Let's see how far you're willing to go, Alex murmured, a faint smile curving his lips. He drafted an email to his legal team, outlining his next steps. The fight had begun, and Alex was determined to win. The office lights burned late into the night as Alex Carter leaned back in his chair, his gaze fixed on the string of coded emails displayed on his laptop. Daniel Ford's machinations were coming into sharp focus, but tonight brought a chilling new twist. A message, encrypted but unmistakable in its intent, appeared in Alex's inbox. The subject line read, "Your future depends on this." Alex opened the email, scanning its contents. The demand was clear: a substantial ransom to be delivered via cryptocurrency, or Daniel would release confidential files containing the blueprints for Alex's revolutionary AI project. A video attachment played automatically. Daniel's face filled the screen, his expression smug. You didn't think I'd let you win again, did you, Alex? Daniel sneered. This isn't just about your company. It's about watching you fall. Pay up, or the world gets a front-row seat to your incompetence. Alex's jaw tightened, his hands gripping the edge of the desk. He rewound the video, analyzing every detail: the flickering lights in the background, the timestamp, and the faint sound of typing in the background. The intercom on his desk buzzed, snapping him out of his thoughts. "Mr. Carter?" His assistant's voice came through, hesitant. "The legal team is on the line." Alex pressed the button to respond. "Tell them I'll join in 5 minutes." He turned back to the laptop, his mind already calculating. Daniel's move was desperate, but desperation made him dangerous. Alex pulled out his phone and dialed Carter Doyle. "Doyle here," the investigator answered briskly. "Daniel's escalated," Alex said, his voice clipped. "He's demanding payment to prevent a leak." "Don't give in," Doyle replied immediately. "It's a bluff. He won't risk exposing everything yet." "I don't intend to," Alex said, "but I need this contained. Can we trace the source of the video?" "Already on it," Doyle assured him. "I'll call you when we have a location." Alex ended the call and joined the legal team's video conference. Their faces appeared on the screen, all marked with concern. "Alex, this leak could destroy the AI partnership," one of them began. "It won't," Alex interrupted, his tone steely. "We're going on the offensive. Draft a cease and desist order and prepare to escalate to the authorities. Daniel Ford made his move, but now it's my turn." The following morning, chaos erupted. Daniel, true to his threat, leaked part of the AI blueprint online, just enough to spark rumors and fear in the tech industry. News outlets were ablaze with speculation about Alex's company, its security, and its leadership. Alex sat in the boardroom, flanked by his executives. The tension in the air was palpable as reports of plummeting investor confidence poured in. "What's the damage?" Alex asked, his voice calm but sharp. "We've lost one major investor already," his CFO replied, "and the stock has dropped 15% since the leak." Alex nodded, his expression unreadable. He turned to his head of PR. "I want a statement ready within the hour. Make it clear that we're taking this attack seriously and that our focus remains on innovation and security." The PR lead hesitated. "Do we address the breach directly?" "No," Alex said firmly. "We don't give Daniel the satisfaction of seeing us panic." That evening, as Alex returned home, he found Elena waiting for him in the living room. Her expression was a mixture of concern and frustration. "You've been distant," she said, her voice tinged with accusation. "And now you're more stressed than ever. What's going on?" Alex hesitated, his mind racing. He couldn't reveal the full extent of what he knew, not yet. "Work's been challenging," he said carefully. "There are some issues I need to handle." Elena crossed her arms. "You're shutting me out again. How can we fix this if you won't let me in?" The irony of her words stung, but Alex kept his composure. "I'm doing what's necessary for us, for our family. Trust me." Elena looked away, her expression troubled. "I don't know if I can anymore." Alex's gaze hardened, but he said nothing. Instead, he turned and walked toward his study, his mind already shifting back to the battle at hand. Late that night, Alex met with Doyle in a secure location. The investigator handed him a folder, thick with evidence. "We traced the video to a private server," Doyle said. "Daniel's been working with a rival company, Synertech. They're poised to release a competing AI product, and they stand to gain from your downfall." Alex flipped through the documents, his jaw tightening with each page. The connections between Daniel and Synertech were undeniable: emails, financial transactions, and even a contract promising him a cut of their profits. "This is enough to bury them," Alex said. "Not yet," Doyle cautioned. "We need to catch Daniel in the act, something irrefutable." Alex nodded. "Then we set a trap." Over the next few days, Alex worked with his IT team to create a decoy file, an AI blueprint designed to look authentic, but riddled with errors and tracking codes. They planted it on the server Daniel had previously accessed, ensuring it was irresistible bait. "This will force his hand," Alex told his team. "When he takes it, we'll know exactly where he's going and who he's working with." As the days passed, Alex monitored the decoy file, waiting for Daniel to take the bait. Finally, the alert came. "He's in," Alex said, a triumphant smile breaking through his grim exterior. Doyle called shortly after. "We've got him. He's arranging a meeting with a buyer. This is our chance to bring him down." Alex leaned back in his chair, his confidence growing. "Good. Let's make sure he never sees it coming." The fallout from Daniel's first move was devastating, but Alex had barely begun to retaliate when the second blow landed. It was early morning, and Alex was in his study, scrolling through updates from his IT team when his phone buzzed on the desk. "Mr. Carter," his assistant said, her voice tense. "You need to see this." Seconds later, an email arrived with links to multiple news outlets. Headlines blared across the screen. "Major leak at Carter Technologies. Strategic AI blueprints exposed. Breach raises questions about security and leadership at industry giant." Alex's grip on the phone tightened as he opened the articles. Daniel had escalated, releasing more of the stolen files. This time, the leak included strategic blueprints tied to Alex's most ambitious AI project, threatening not just the company's reputation, but its very future. Alex dialed Doyle immediately. "I saw the news," Doyle said before Alex could speak. "The timing is deliberate. He's trying to hit you where it hurts most." "Any leads on his buyers?" Alex demanded, his voice cold and clipped. "We've narrowed it down to Signertech, but we don't have confirmation yet." Daniel's covering his tracks carefully. "Not carefully enough," Alex growled. "Accelerate the surveillance. I want him cornered before he releases another file." In the boardroom hours later, Alex faced his senior leadership team. The tension was palpable, and the air buzzed with barely restrained panic. "This is unacceptable," one executive said, slamming his hand on the table. "We're hemorrhaging trust with every passing hour." "Then we stop the bleeding," Alex replied, his tone sharp and commanding. "Our first priority is to reassure our clients and investors that we have this under control. I've already tasked the IT department with strengthening our defenses, and Carter Doyle's team is closing in on the source of the leaks." "But what about public perception?" another executive asked. "We can't ignore the fact that our reputation is on the line." Alex nodded, leaning forward. "That's why I'll be addressing this personally. We'll issue a statement emphasizing our commitment to transparency and innovation. As for Daniel Ford, when the time is right, the world will know the truth about him." Later that evening, Alex returned home, the weight of the day pressing heavily on his shoulders. He found Elena in the kitchen, absently stirring a cup of tea. "You look exhausted," she said, glancing at him. "It's been a long day," Alex replied, his tone neutral. Elena hesitated before speaking again. "I heard about the leaks on the news. It must be overwhelming." Alex studied her carefully. There was something off in her demeanor, a flicker of guilt, perhaps, or fear. "It's nothing I can't handle," he said. She set her cup down and turned to face him. "Alex, I know we've had our issues, but you don't have to shut me out. If there's something going on, I want to help." Alex's eyes narrowed slightly, but his voice remained calm. "Help? How exactly do you plan to do that?" Elena faltered, her expression shifting. I want to be there for you." Alex took a step closer, his gaze unrelenting. "And yet, you've been keeping secrets of your own, haven't you?" Her face paled, and for a moment, Alex thought she might confess. But instead, she looked away. "I don't know what you mean." "Don't you?" Alex said softly, his voice laced with quiet intensity. "Perhaps it's time we stopped pretending, Elena." She opened her mouth to respond, but the sound of Alex's phone buzzing broke the moment. He glanced at the screen, a message from Doyle. "We have movement on Daniel. Call me." Without another word, Alex turned and walked to his study, leaving Elena standing alone in the kitchen. The trap Alex had set for Daniel was beginning to close. Doyle's team had intercepted communications indicating that Daniel had taken the bait, the decoy file planted on the company's servers. "He's convinced it's genuine," Doyle said over the phone. "He's planning to sell it at a meeting tomorrow night." "Location?" Alex asked. "An abandoned warehouse outside the city," Doyle replied. "We've already informed law enforcement they're ready to move in as soon as we have confirmation of the handoff." "Good," Alex said. "I'll be there." Doyle hesitated. Alex, I don't think that's a good idea. Let the professionals handle this. This isn't just business, Doyle. It's personal. The next evening, Alex arrived at the warehouse, staying hidden as law enforcement prepared for the operation. Through a pair of binoculars, he watched as Daniel entered the building, a briefcase in hand. Moments later, another figure appeared, an executive from Synertech. Alex's suspicions were confirmed. The sting unfolded with precision. As the transaction began, officers moved in, catching Daniel and the buyer red-handed. Alex stepped forward as Daniel was handcuffed, his expression a mixture of satisfaction and contempt. "Alex!" Daniel sneered, his defiance unbroken. "You think this ends with me? You're deluding yourself." Alex leaned in, his voice low and cold. "It ends when I say it ends." As Daniel was led away, Alex felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The battle was far from over, but for the first time in weeks, he allowed himself a small sense of victory. The dawn of the new day brought a quiet determination to Alex Carter's study. Daniel Ford's arrest was a victory, but the war was far from over. Alex pored over files, each document a piece of the puzzle he would use to dismantle Daniel's schemes entirely. Across the desk sat Carter Doyle, private investigator and Alex's closest ally in this battle, his expression resolute. "We have the data trail," Doyle said, handing Alex a thick folder. "Bank transactions, correspondence, and encrypted files, everything we need to prove Daniel's connection to Synertech and his attempts to sabotage you." Alex scanned the documents, his jaw tightening with every page. The financial records were damning, showing payments routed through shell corporations to fund Daniel's espionage. But it was the emails that caught Alex's eye. One message in particular stood out. From Daniel Ford. To Synertech executive subject. AI blueprints, transfer agreement. "This one seals it," Alex muttered, tapping the page. "It's not just theft. It's conspiracy." Doyle nodded. "The legal team is drafting charges. We'll hit him with everything corporate espionage, fraud, blackmail. He won't see daylight for decades." "Good," Alex replied. "But we can't stop there. We need to expose everyone involved. If Synertech thinks they can skate by while Daniel takes the fall, they're mistaken." As Doyle gathered his notes, Alex's phone buzzed. It was the head of his legal team, Patricia Lang. "Alex," Patricia began, her voice crisp. "We've compiled the evidence for a civil suit against Synertech. If we play this right, they'll fold under the weight of the litigation before this ever sees a courtroom." Alex's response was measured. "Proceed, but ensure we control the narrative. This isn't just about winning in court, it's about restoring trust." Patricia hesitated before adding, "There's one more thing. Daniel's legal team is already pushing back, claiming you manipulated the situation with the decoy file." Alex smirked faintly. "Let them. We've done nothing illegal. The evidence speaks for itself." Hours later, Alex stood before a sea of reporters in the gleaming atrium of Carter Technologies. The press conference had been hastily arranged, but every detail was meticulously controlled. Alex approached the podium, his expression composed but steely. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice steady, "over the past weeks, Carter Technologies has faced a deliberate and malicious attack on its integrity. Today, I am here to assure you that we will not only recover but emerge stronger." Cameras flashed as Alex continued. "We have identified the perpetrators behind these acts, individuals motivated by greed and a personal vendetta. Legal actions are underway, and we will hold them accountable to the fullest extent of the law." A reporter raised her hand. "Mr. Carter, are you suggesting this was an inside job?" Alex's gaze didn't waver. "What I'm suggesting is that no company, no matter how innovative or secure, is immune to external threats. But we have taken decisive steps to address the breach, and we will ensure such incidents do not occur again." The room erupted with questions, but Alex remained composed, offering just enough to satisfy their curiosity without revealing too much. As the conference concluded, Patricia approached him. "You handled that well. Investors are already responding positively." Alex nodded but said nothing. His focus was already shifting to the next move. That evening, Alex returned home to find Elena waiting for him in the living room. Her posture was tense, and her eyes carried a mixture of guilt and defiance. "We need to talk," she said. Alex set his briefcase down and crossed his arms. "About what?" Elena hesitated, her hands twisting nervously. "I know something's going on, Alex. You've been distant and there's tension. I want to know the truth." Alex studied her for a moment, his expression unreadable. "Do you?" "Yes," she said, her voice firm. "I deserve to know." Alex exhaled, his tone cold but controlled. "What you deserve is a chance to come clean, Elena. About everything." Her eyes widened. "What are you talking about?" "You know exactly what I'm talking about," Alex said, stepping closer. "Your relationship with Adrian Daniel. Your role in this mess. Do you really think I haven't pieced it together?" Elena's face paled, and for a moment she looked as though she might faint. "Alex, Save it," Alex interrupted. "You've been manipulated, Elena. Used. But that doesn't absolve you of the choices you made. The question now is whether you're going to do the right thing." Tears welled in her eyes, but she held her ground. "I didn't know who he was. I didn't know what he was doing. He told me you didn't care that—" "That I was too busy?" Alex cut in, his voice sharp. "Too distracted to notice? Believe me, Elena, I noticed. I just didn't realize how far you'd let it go." Elena sank onto the couch, her head in her hands. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never meant for this to happen." Alex stared at her, his expression a mixture of anger and disappointment. "Sorry doesn't fix this, but maybe, just maybe, it's not too late to salvage something." He turned and walked toward his study, leaving Elena alone with her guilt. In his study, Alex's phone buzzed. It was Doyle again. "We've got confirmation," Doyle said. "Synertech's executives were directly involved. The trail leads straight to their CEO." Alex's jaw tightened. Then it's time to finish this. The weight of the recent revelations pressed heavily on Alex Carter's shoulders as he reviewed the latest evidence in his study. Daniel Ford had taken the bait, but the storm was far from over. That morning, a message appeared in Alex's inbox, short and ominous. "The last piece goes public unless you meet my demands. Tonight, midnight, no tricks." Attached was a preview of the final stolen file, a critical component of Alex's revolutionary AI partnership. If leaked, it would cripple the deal and tarnish Carter Technologies' reputation irreparably. Alex forwarded the email to Carter Doyle with a terse note. "Plan in motion. Make sure we're ready." Moments later, Doyle called. "Alex, this is a dangerous play. Are you sure you want to face him directly?" "I don't have a choice," Alex replied, his voice resolute. "Daniel needs to believe he's won. That's the only way we catch him off guard." Doyle sighed. "We've coordinated with law enforcement. They'll stay hidden until you give the signal." "Good," Alex said. "Tonight, this ends." As midnight approached, Alex drove to the agreed-upon meeting spot, an abandoned dockyard shrouded in mist. He parked his car at a distance and walked toward a lone figure waiting under a dimly lit lamppost. Daniel Ford turned, his smirk as sharp as ever. "Alex, punctual as always. I knew you'd see reason." Alex kept his expression cold. "Cut the theatrics, Daniel. What do you want?" Daniel chuckled, pulling a USB drive from his pocket. "This, Alex, the final piece. Your life's work. It's worth billions, isn't it? And all I'm asking for is a mere fraction of its value. 100 million. Transfer it now, and this stays between us." "You're overplaying your hand," Alex said evenly. "Am I?" Daniel sneered. "You're here, aren't you? Desperate to save your precious company. Admit it, you've already lost." Alex stepped closer, his voice dropping. "You think this is a game, Daniel? You've underestimated me from the start." Daniel's smirk faltered. Before he could respond, Alex pressed a hidden button on his smartwatch, signaling Doyle and the waiting officers. The dockyard erupted in motion as law enforcement surrounded them, weapons drawn. "Daniel Ford," an officer announced. "You're under arrest for corporate espionage, blackmail, and conspiracy." Daniel's face twisted in rage as officers cuffed him. "You'll regret this, Alex. This isn't over." Alex stood firm, his gaze unflinching. "Oh, it's over. You just don't know it yet." Back at home, Elena sat in the living room, her hands trembling as she stared at her phone. She had just received a message from Daniel, his final, desperate attempt to drag her further into his schemes. "Tell Alex to back off, or I'll make sure everyone knows the truth about us." The words burned into her mind. For weeks, guilt had consumed her. She had believed Daniel's lies, allowed herself to be manipulated, and now the consequences were spiraling out of control. When Alex walked in, his presence was commanding, but his face was weary. He set his keys down and turned to her. "Elena," he said, his voice low but firm, "we need to talk." She looked up at him, her eyes filled with tears. "Alex, Stop," he interrupted, his tone sharper. "I know everything, the affair, the files, the lies. What I need to know now is whether you're ready to tell me the truth." Elena broke down, sobbing. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen. He said you didn't care, that you'd never notice, and I believed him. I was stupid, Alex. I was weak." "Was it worth it?" Alex asked coldly. "No," she whispered. "I've ruined everything. Please, Alex, tell me there's a way to fix this." Alex's expression softened, but only slightly. "The damage is done, Elena. What happens next depends on whether you're willing to help me clean up the mess." She nodded, wiping her tears. "I'll do whatever it takes." "Good," Alex said, "because this isn't just about us anymore. It's about everyone Daniel has hurt, and I won't stop until justice is served." The next evening, Alex and Doyle coordinated with law enforcement to finalize their plan. The trap was set at a luxury hotel where Daniel had arranged a secret meeting with Synertech executives to finalize the sale of the stolen files. Alex monitored the operation from a surveillance van parked nearby, his heart pounding with anticipation. Through the live feed, he watched Daniel enter the suite, flanked by 2 Synertech representatives. "It's happening," Doyle murmured beside him. Inside the suite, Daniel began his pitch, displaying a laptop with the stolen files. "This," he declared, "is the future of AI. Yours for the right price." The Synertech executives leaned in, their interest palpable. But before the transaction could proceed, the doors burst open, and law enforcement officers stormed the room. "Everyone stay where you are," an officer commanded. Chaos ensued as Daniel and the executives were handcuffed and led away. Alex stepped out of the van and approached the scene, his presence commanding. Daniel glared at him as officers escorted him out. "You think you've won, Carter? This won't erase your failures." Alex met his gaze with steely resolve. "My failures don't define me, Daniel, but your greed just destroyed you." As Daniel was taken away, Alex turned to Doyle. "It's done." Doyle nodded. "For now. But the fallout will take time to manage." Alex looked out at the city skyline, determination etched into his features. "I'm ready." The following morning, the media exploded with headlines about the high-profile arrests at the luxury hotel. "Corporate espionage ring dismantled," one article proclaimed, while others focused on the shocking involvement of Synertech executives. For Alex Carter, the sight of Daniel Ford in handcuffs broadcast across every major network was a moment of vindication, but it was far from the end. Alex sat in his office, watching the news unfold on a muted screen. Beside him, Carter Doyle stood, a tablet in hand with the latest updates from the authorities. "They've confiscated Daniel's devices," Doyle reported. "It'll take time to decrypt everything, but early indications suggest he wasn't working alone. Synertech's involvement runs deeper than we thought." Alex nodded, his expression grim. "Make sure the authorities know we'll cooperate fully. I want every single one of them held accountable." A knock at the door interrupted their conversation. Patricia Lang, Alex's head of legal, entered, a thick folder in her hands. "This just came in," she said, placing the folder on Alex's desk. "It's an initial analysis of Daniel's communications. There's evidence he had direct contact with someone inside our company." Alex's stomach tightened. "Who?" Patricia hesitated. "We don't have a name yet, but whoever it was provided Daniel with access codes and internal documents." The weight of the revelation settled heavily on Alex, betrayal within his own ranks. It wasn't just Daniel and Synertech. It was someone he had trusted. "Prioritize this," Alex said, his voice cold. "I want answers by the end of the day." As Patricia left, Alex turned back to Doyle. "Keep digging. If there's more to this, I want it uncovered. Doyle nodded, his expression resolute. You've got it. That evening, Alex returned home, the events of the day swirling in his mind. He found Elena in the living room, pacing anxiously. The tension between them was palpable, but Alex had no patience left for pretense. We need to talk, he said, his tone clipped. Elena turned to face him, her eyes redrimmed. Alex, Save it, he interrupted. I want the truth, Elena, all of it. She sank onto the couch, her hands trembling. I didn't know it would go this far, she began, her voice barely above a whisper. I thought I was helping him. Helping him? Alex's voice rose, incredulous. Do you have any idea what you've done? Elena flinched, but forced herself to continue. He told me you didn't care about me, that I was just a convenience to you, and I believed him. I let him convince me that he understood me, that he wanted to help me. And you gave him access to everything, Alex finished coldly. Your laptop, your trust, my company. Tears streamed down her face. I didn't know who he really was. I didn't know what he was planning. You didn't bother to find out, Alex shot back. You handed him the keys to everything I've worked for, everything we built, without a second thought. Elena sobbed, her hands covering her face. I'm so sorry, Alex. I never meant for this to happen. Sorry doesn't fix this, Alex said, his voice icy. Do you even realize how much damage you've caused? How many lives you've jeopardized? She looked up at him, desperation in her eyes. Tell me how I can make it right. Please. Alex stared at her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Finally, he spoke. You want to make it right? Start by telling the authorities everything, every conversation, every detail. If you want a shred of redemption, you'll help me take him down completely. Elena nodded, her voice trembling. I'll do it, whatever it takes. Good, Alex said, turning away, because this is your only chance to prove you're not beyond saving. In the days that followed, Alex threw himself into damage control. The fallout from Daniel's arrest and the exposure of Synertech's involvement dominated headlines, but Alex was determined to shift the narrative. His PR team worked tirelessly, crafting statements that emphasized the company's swift action and commitment to integrity. At the same time, Alex met with key investors, assuring them of Carter Technologies' resilience and long-term vision. During one such meeting, Alex addressed a room full of skeptical stakeholders. This company was built on innovation and trust, he said, his voice steady. And while recent events have tested us, I assure you, we will emerge stronger. Our security measures have been overhauled, and we are working closely with law enforcement to ensure justice is served. After the meeting, Patricia approached him with a satisfied expression. The investors are responding well. Stock prices are stabilizing, and I've already received calls from 2 who are considering increasing their stakes. Alex nodded, but his focus remained on the larger battle. Good. But we're not out of the woods yet. Keep the pressure on Synertech. I want them facing lawsuits from every direction. Patricia smiled faintly. Consider it done. Back at home, Alex reviewed the latest reports from Doyle. The evidence against Synertech and Daniel continued to mount, and the authorities were preparing formal charges. But for Alex, the fight wasn't just about justice. It was about rebuilding everything that had been threatened. As he sat in his study that night, Alex allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. The betrayal had shaken him to his core, but it had also revealed a strength he hadn't realized he possessed. The road ahead would be long, but Alex Carter was nothing if not determined. The courtroom buzzed with restrained tension as Alex Carter entered, his presence commanding despite the weight of the events leading to this moment. Daniel Ford sat at the defense table, his once confident smirk replaced by a grim mask of defiance. Cameras clicked rapidly as Alex took his seat among the audience, his face unreadable but his mind a whirlwind of calculations. Prosecutors wasted no time laying out their case. The lead prosecutor, Mary Ann Blake, a sharp-witted woman known for her unrelenting approach, began her opening statement. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what we have here is a calculated, premeditated attack on a cornerstone of innovation Carter Technologies. The defendant, Daniel Ford, orchestrated a web of deceit and corporate espionage, employing manipulation, theft, and betrayal to achieve his goals. Blake walked toward the jury, her words deliberate. This trial is not just about stolen blueprints or ruined reputations, it's about holding accountable those who believe they are above the law. As Blake transitioned into presenting evidence, Alex watched with quiet satisfaction. The prosecution displayed encrypted emails between Daniel and Synertech executives, financial transactions routed through offshore accounts, and surveillance footage of the infamous dockyard meeting. The damning decoy file planted by Alex's IT team took center stage, showcasing Daniel's intent to weaponize the stolen data. Carter Doyle's testimony was a turning point. Called to the stand, the investigator outlined his team's meticulous work in exposing Daniel's activities. His composed demeanor and precise answers added weight to the prosecution's case. "Mr. Doyle," Blake said, "can you confirm whether the defendant knowingly accessed proprietary data belonging to Carter Technologies?" "Yes," Doyle replied confidently. "The evidence clearly indicates that Daniel Ford exploited insider access and collaborated with external parties to steal and distribute the data." Daniel's attorney, visibly unnerved, attempted to undermine Doyle's credibility during cross-examination, but Doyle's responses remained airtight. As the prosecution rested its case, Alex allowed himself a small moment of satisfaction. The evidence was overwhelming, and the momentum was firmly in their favor. When the defense began their case, the tone in the courtroom shifted. Daniel's attorney, a seasoned litigator named Richard Gaines, adopted a strategy that was equal parts deflection and victimhood. He framed Daniel as a man wronged by corporate greed and betrayal. "Ladies and gentlemen," Gaines began, "this case is not as simple as the prosecution would have you believe. My client, Daniel Ford, was once a promising entrepreneur, driven to desperation by the ruthless practices of Carter Technologies. What we see here is not the act of a criminal, but of a man pushed to the brink." Gaines attempted to cast doubt on the prosecution's narrative, focusing heavily on the decoy file. He argued that Alex's use of the file was entrapment, designed to provoke Daniel into making incriminating moves. Calling Elena to the stand was a bold, if predictable move. Gaines questioned her about her relationship with Daniel, aiming to highlight her role in the events. "Elena, would you say your relationship with Mr. Ford was born out of dissatisfaction with your marriage?" Gaines asked. Elena hesitated, her face pale under the courtroom lights. I was vulnerable," she admitted, her voice trembling. "Daniel manipulated me. I didn't realize his intentions until it was too late." Gaines pressed on. "But you did share information with him, correct? Information that was later used against Carter Technologies?" "Yes," Elena whispered, tears streaming down her face, "and I regret it every single day." The defense's focus on Elena's involvement created a temporary media frenzy, with headlines questioning Alex's leadership and his marriage. But Alex remained composed, knowing that the truth was on his side. The trial took a dramatic turn when Daniel, against his lawyer's advice, decided to testify. His arrogance proved to be his undoing. Under cross-examination, Blake methodically dismantled Daniel's facade. She presented emails where he explicitly outlined his plans to Synertech executives, leaving no room for ambiguity. "Mr. Ford," Blake said, her voice calm but piercing, "in this email, you describe your intention to cripple Carter Technologies and force a buyout. Do you deny writing this?" Daniel shifted uncomfortably. "I don't recall the specifics." Blake smiled thinly. "Let me refresh your memory." She projected the email onto the courtroom screen, reading aloud the incriminating lines. "Is this your email address, Mr. Ford?" "Yes," he admitted reluctantly. Blake turned to the jury. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is not the act of a desperate man seeking justice. This is the calculated plan of a criminal seeking revenge." The final blow came when law enforcement decrypted Daniel's personal files, revealing recordings of his conversations with Elena. While these tapes confirmed her unwitting involvement, they also painted Daniel as a manipulative predator. The media storm intensified, with public opinion beginning to swing in Alex's favor. Elena, though devastated, took a courageous step by issuing a public apology. In a televised statement, she took responsibility for her actions and pledged to cooperate fully with the authorities. Alex watched the broadcast in silence, his emotions a complex mix of anger, sadness, and grudging respect. He knew her confession wouldn't undo the damage, but it was a step toward closure. The days following Elena's public apology were a whirlwind of activity. For Alex Carter, every moment was consumed by strategic meetings, crisis management, and damage control. The media was relentless, dissecting every detail of the trial and Elena's confession. But Alex knew that public perception could still be salvaged. "Are you sure about this?" Patricia Lang asked as they prepared for a joint press conference. "I am," Alex replied. His gaze was steely, his resolve unwavering. "This isn't just about me or Elena. It's about showing the world that Carter Technologies isn't going anywhere." The conference room was packed with reporters, their murmurs creating a low hum that filled the space. Cameras flashed as Alex and Elena entered together, their coordinated appearance a calculated move. Elena took her place at the podium first, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted the microphone. "I stand here today to take full responsibility for my actions," she began, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. "What I did was wrong. I allowed myself to be deceived and, in doing so, jeopardized not only my marriage but the livelihood of countless people who rely on Carter Technologies." She paused, her eyes scanning the room. "I can't undo the mistakes I've made, but I can pledge to make amends. I will cooperate fully with law enforcement to ensure justice is served." Alex stepped forward next, his presence commanding. "As CEO of Carter Technologies, my priority has always been to safeguard this company and its people. While recent events have tested us, we have taken decisive steps to address the challenges and ensure they never happen again." His gaze swept over the audience. "We are not defined by our setbacks, but by how we rise above them. Carter Technologies remains committed to innovation, integrity, and the trust of our partners and clients." The applause that followed was hesitant but grew steadily. Investors watching from afar saw a united front, a carefully orchestrated moment designed to restore confidence. As the trial continued, Alex's legal team made a breakthrough. A forensic analysis of Daniel's encrypted files uncovered damning evidence, detailed plans for similar corporate sabotage schemes targeting other tech companies. Patricia laid out the findings in Alex's office. "This connects Daniel to a pattern of theft and manipulation spanning years," she said, spreading documents across the table. "It's bigger than we anticipated." Alex leaned forward, his eyes scanning the pages. "This implicates Signertech even further. They've been using Daniel as a weapon against their competitors." Patricia nodded. "We've already passed the information to law enforcement. With this, Signertech's executives are in deep trouble." The revelations added fuel to the media firestorm. Reports emerged linking Signertech to multiple instances of corporate espionage, their CEO facing mounting pressure to step down. For Alex, the news was a turning point. He called a meeting with his board to address the situation. "This new evidence strengthens our position," Alex said, his tone confident. "We're not just defending ourselves anymore, we're exposing a systemic issue that threatens the entire industry." The board members exchanged glances before one of them, a senior advisor, spoke. "Your leadership during this crisis has been remarkable, Alex. You have our full support." The endorsement bolstered Alex's resolve. As he left the meeting, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. The tide was turning, and he was determined to see it through. Elena's efforts to make amends extended beyond her cooperation with law enforcement. She reopened her art gallery, using it as a platform for community outreach. Proceeds from her exhibitions were donated to charities supporting whistleblowers and victims of corporate fraud, a move that slowly began to rebuild her image. At home, Alex maintained a guarded distance, his emotions a complex mix of lingering betrayal and cautious optimism. One evening, as they crossed paths in the kitchen, Elena spoke hesitantly. "Alex," she began, "I know I have no right to ask for forgiveness, but I want you to know that I'm trying to be better for myself, for our family." Alex regarded her for a long moment before replying. "Actions speak louder than words, Elena. Keep doing what you're doing." Her eyes welled with tears, but she nodded, understanding that trust would take time to rebuild, if it could be rebuilt at all. Meanwhile, Alex's company regained its footing. A major AI deal, once jeopardized by the leaks, was secured after months of negotiation. During the announcement, Alex stood before a crowd of employees. his voice firm and resolute. "This victory belongs to all of us," he said, his gaze sweeping across the room. "It's a testament to our resilience and our unwavering commitment to excellence. Together, we've proven that no challenge is insurmountable." The applause was thunderous, a cathartic release after weeks of uncertainty. As Alex drove home that night, he allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. The journey had been harrowing, but it had also reaffirmed his strength and determination. He was ready for whatever came next. The courtroom was a theater of tension as the prosecution's case came to a crescendo. Daniel Ford, once smug and defiant, now sat with his head bowed, the weight of the evidence crushing his composure. The jury watched intently as the final pieces of the puzzle were laid bare. Marianne Blake, the lead prosecutor, took the floor for her closing argument. Her presence was commanding, her tone unrelenting. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," she began, "the evidence presented in this courtroom has painted a clear picture of the defendant's actions. Daniel Ford orchestrated a calculated attack on Carter Technologies, fueled by greed and a personal vendetta. He betrayed not only Alex Carter, but also the very principles of integrity and innovation." Blake turned toward the jury, her voice rising with conviction. "We have seen the stolen data, the encrypted communications, the financial trails all leading back to this man. And let us not forget his admission on the stand, when he could no longer deny his guilt. Justice demands accountability, and accountability starts with your verdict." The courtroom was silent as she returned to her seat. Alex Carter, seated just behind the prosecution's table, watched with a stoic expression. His mind was calm, but his heart raced as the jury retired to deliberate. The hours felt like days. When the jury finally returned, the four persons stood, the courtroom holding its collective breath. "We find the defendant, Daniel Ford, guilty on all counts." The words reverberated through the room. Alex exhaled, his fists clenching in a rare display of emotion. Across the courtroom, Daniel's face twisted with rage and disbelief. As the judge pronounced the sentence, 20 years in federal prison without parole, Daniel lashed out, shouting accusations and threats. "This isn't over, Carter." "You'll regret this." Alex met his gaze with unflinching resolve. "No, Daniel, it's over for you." The media storm surrounding the trial's conclusion was relentless. Headlines declared Daniel Ford's downfall with a mixture of triumph and sensationalism. "Justice served, corporate saboteur, sentenced to 20 years. Daniel Ford's crimes exposed, a tale of greed and betrayal." Alex's PR team worked tirelessly to shape the narrative, ensuring Carter Technologies emerged not as a victim but as a resilient force. Alex himself became the focus of several profiles, highlighting his strategic handling of the crisis. At a press conference, Alex addressed the public directly. "This chapter has been difficult, but it has also been a reminder of the values we stand for. Carter Technologies remains committed to innovation, integrity, and trust. We will continue to lead, undeterred by those who seek to undermine us." Behind the scenes, Alex worked to ensure Synertech faced its reckoning as well. Lawsuits filed against the rival company gained traction, and their CEO stepped down amidst mounting pressure. The once prominent competitor dissolved under the weight of financial penalties and public scrutiny. In contrast, Carter Technologies soared. The company's stock rebounded and new partnerships flourished. Industry leaders praised Alex's resilience, and employees rallied behind his leadership. For Alex, the accolades were secondary. What mattered most was the restoration of trust in his company and in himself. Prison life was a stark contrast to the world Daniel Ford once inhabited. Stripped of his power, influence, and allies, he became a forgotten figure in the corporate world he had sought to dominate. The days blurred into monotonous cycles, each one eroding the bravado that once defined him. Letters sent to former associates went unanswered. His estranged family refused his calls. The name Daniel Ford became a cautionary tale, whispered in boardrooms as a warning against unchecked ambition and betrayal. Occasionally, news of Alex Carter's continued success reached him, a painful reminder of his failure. Alex's memoir, published to widespread acclaim, included a chapter about the betrayal and the lessons learned from it. It became a bestseller, further cementing Alex's legacy. Daniel read it in the prison library, each word a dagger. The final sentence haunted him. Justice, though patient, always prevails. As years passed, Daniel's bitterness turned inward. Regret consumed him, but it was too late for redemption. He spent his days in isolation, a shadow of the man he once was, forgotten by the world he had sought to control. The sharp knock on Elena's studio door startled her. She turned to find Alex standing there, an envelope in his hand. His expression was unreadable, but the air between them was heavy with finality. "Elena," he said, his voice steady but devoid of warmth. "We need to discuss this." She set down her brush, the colors she had been working with smeared across the canvas like her fractured emotions. "What is it?" she asked, though she already knew. Alex stepped closer and placed the envelope on the table. "This is the divorce agreement. I've kept the terms straightforward, but I need your signature. You have until the end of the week." Elena's breath hitched. "Divorce?" He nodded, his gaze unwavering. "This marriage, it's beyond repair. What you did wasn't just a betrayal of me, it was a betrayal of everything we built together. I can't move forward with you." Tears filled her eyes. "Alex, please, I know I made mistakes. I'll do anything to make this right. Can't we at least try to fix it?" Alex's jaw tightened, but his tone remained calm. "Elena, this isn't about hate or anger. It's about trust, and that trust is gone. I thought this through, and this is the best path for both of us." She stared at him, desperation etched into every line of her face. "You're punishing me." "No," he said firmly. "I'm protecting myself." The conversation ended with Elena clutching the envelope, her hands trembling. Over the following days, she read the agreement repeatedly, each clause a reminder of what she had lost. When the deadline arrived, she signed it, her tears smudging the ink as she sealed her fate. After the divorce, Elena's life became a shadow of what it once was. Her art gallery, once bustling with patrons and praise, became eerily quiet. The scandal surrounding her affair with Daniel had tarnished her reputation, driving clients away and leaving her financially strained. Her relationship with her children, Ava and Liam, fractured as well. Ava, now a young professional, avoided calls and emails, unable to reconcile her love for her mother with the betrayal she had committed. Liam, still in college, maintained minimal contact, his responses to Elena's messages terse and infrequent. One afternoon, Elena stood in her empty gallery, the silence suffocating. She stared at one of her earlier works, a vibrant painting of a family picnic. The faces of Alex, Ava, and Liam stared back at her, frozen in a moment of happiness she could never recreate. A knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. It was an old friend, Sarah, who had come to check on her. "Elena," Sarah said gently, "you need to get out of this place. It's not good for you to be alone all the time." Elena shook her head, her voice hollow. "Where would I go? Everything I loved is gone. Everyone I cared about, I ruined it all." Sarah hesitated before responding. "There's still time to rebuild, Elena. You just have to take the first step." But Elena only turned back to the painting, her shoulders slumping. "I don't know if I can." Her days blended into nights, each one lonelier than the last. The vibrant, confident woman she once was had withered under the weight of her choices, leaving behind only regret. Years later, Elena's health began to deteriorate. The stress and isolation took their toll, manifesting in chronic illnesses that she ignored until it was too late. One cold winter morning, she collapsed in her small apartment, clutching her chest as pain radiated through her body. When the paramedics arrived, it was too late. Elena Carter was pronounced dead from a stroke, alone in the space she had retreated to after her fall from grace. News of her death reached Alex through a brief message from Sarah. He read it in his study, his expression stoic as he processed the loss. He felt no joy, no vindication, only a somber recognition of what might have been. At the funeral, Ava and Liam stood together, their faces drawn with conflicting emotions. They mourned the mother who had raised them, but struggled to reconcile that image with the woman who had betrayed their father. Alex stood apart from them, his presence a quiet reminder of the life they had all shared. As the coffin was lowered into the ground, he placed a single white rose on the grave, his thoughts a mixture of sorrow and resolution. Walking away from the cemetery, Alex felt a sense of closure. Elena's choices had led her to this end, but her story served as a reminder of the consequences of betrayal and the fragility of trust. The sharp winter air carried a sense of renewal as Alex Carter stepped into the conference room, the walls adorned with accolades from the tech industry. His company, once on the brink of collapse, was now thriving. After Daniel's sentencing and Elena's passing, Alex had found himself at a crossroads, one that demanded introspection and a reevaluation of his priorities. Standing before a group of promising young entrepreneurs, Alex adjusted his tie. He was the keynote speaker at a mentorship seminar, an opportunity he had initially declined but later embraced after persistent requests. His story, though rooted in pain and betrayal, was now a blueprint for resilience. "My journey," Alex began, his voice steady, "is not one of perfection, but of perseverance. Success, as I've learned, is not measured by what you achieve, but by how you recover from failure." The audience hung on his every word as he recounted the highs and lows of his career, the innovation, the betrayal, the battle for justice. He spoke with calculated honesty, acknowledging his own mistakes, including the emotional distance that had contributed to Elena's vulnerabilities. By the time he concluded, the room erupted into applause, the admiration in their eyes a testament to the legacy he was building. After the seminar, Alex returned to his office. He glanced at the family photo on his desk: Ava, now a successful lawyer, and Liam, thriving in a tech startup. His children had not only forgiven the past, but had grown into individuals he admired deeply. His role in their lives had shifted from a provider to a guide, a change he cherished more than any professional accolade. As he opened his laptop to review plans for a new initiative, an incubator program for young tech minds, Alex felt a quiet contentment. His life was no longer defined by the scars of betrayal, but by the strength he had found in rebuilding. In a dimly lit courtroom, the remnants of Synertech's empire faced their reckoning. A former executive, once confident in his untouchability, now stood trial for his role in Daniel's schemes. Evidence, meticulously compiled by Alex's legal team, painted an undeniable picture of corruption and collusion. Alex attended the hearing silently, his presence a powerful reminder of the consequences Synertech had evaded for too long. The company's collapse had been swift after Daniel's arrest, but Alex was determined to see every loose end tied up. As the judge handed down heavy sentences to Synertech's former leadership, Alex felt a rare sense of vindication. Justice, though patient, had prevailed. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs as reporters scrambled to capture the final moments of a saga that had captivated the corporate world. Leaving the courthouse, Alex declined interviews. He had no interest in rehashing the past. Instead, he directed his focus to the future, ensuring that Carter Technologies became synonymous with integrity and innovation. The company's reputation soared, earning industry accolades and attracting top talent. Clients who had hesitated during the crisis returned, their confidence restored. The AI partnership that had once been jeopardized was now a cornerstone of Carter Technologies' success, setting new standards in the industry. Alex's employees, inspired by his leadership, worked with renewed vigor. The man who had once been consumed by ambition now led with a balance of vision and compassion, a transformation that resonated throughout the company. On a sunny spring morning, Alex stood on the balcony of his home, the scent of blooming flowers filling the air. Beside him was his new wife, Sophia, a kind-hearted architect he had met during a charity event. Their relationship, built on mutual respect and understanding, was a stark contrast to the fractured marriage he had once endured. Sophia handed him a cup of coffee, her smile warm. "You seem deep in thought," she said. Alex chuckled softly. "Just reflecting on how far we've come." In the garden below, Ava and Liam played with their younger half-siblings, their laughter a melody that filled the house. Watching them, Alex felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The darkness of betrayal had given way to a lightness he hadn't believed possible. Later that day, Alex sat at his desk, penning the final chapter of his memoir. The book, already eagerly anticipated, was a culmination of the lessons he had learned through hardship and triumph. "Betrayal may shatter trust," he wrote, "but resilience rebuilds futures. Justice, though patient, always prevails." As he closed the manuscript, Alex gazed out at the horizon. His legacy wasn't just the empire he had rebuilt, or the justice he had sought, it was the family he had protected and the life he had reclaimed. The story of Alex Carter was no longer one of betrayal. It was a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the hope that, even in the darkest times, a brighter future awaits.